गोपी चित चोर प्रभु जय जय माखन चोर जय जय माखन चोर। श्री कृष्णचंद्र भगवान की, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की। उपस्थित
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru and Gauranga. Kindly accept my humble obeisances. I extend my heartfelt gratitude and warm welcome to all the senior Vaishnavas of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. I also welcome each one of the devotees who very regularly assemble here on Zoom platform to be a part of this Bhagvat Katha, the 308th Bhagvat Katha. I also welcome all the devotees who assemble on YouTube and Facebook platform, both offline and online, both in Hindi and English. I also extend my heartfelt gratitude and warm welcome to the Jetva family who have organized this 308th Bhagavatam Katha. Shri Purushottam Anand Jetva, the son of Devi Ma Jetva ji, also in loving memory of Ratan Ben, Chaganlal Bhai, Jaya Ben, Bhanu Ben Wakila, Harilal Jetva, Madhusudan Jetva, Nitin Jetva. So I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the host family, Jetva family, the hosts from Kenya, Nairobi, and Australia, Shri Manjula Bain, Hansa Bain, Jayant Bhai, Jagdish Bhai, Rajesh Bhai, Hitesh Bhai, Kishore Bhai, and Rakhi Jetva Bain. So I welcome each one of you to the final day's Katha, the 7th day Katha of 308 Shrimad Bhagavatam Katha. I extend once again my humble obeisances to each one of you. Hare Krishna, Radhe Shyam.
वेदे रामायणेश्चैव पुराणे भारते तथा आदि अन्ते च मध्ये च हरि सर्वत्र गीयते। हरिवंश पुराण में
In Harivansh Puran, Sri Vedyas Muni has given this shloka which is there on the screens before you. Harivansh Puran is such a Puran where there is a mention of Hari and also the clan of Sri Hari, which has been given by Sri Vedyas Muni. The incarnation of Hari himself, Sri Vedyas Ji, went on to write Mahabharat, and it is said that Mahabharat has 1 lakh verses, perhaps the highest in any text. So Vedmuni ji went on to write Mahabharat ji, but then he thought and contemplated that still there is much to be left about Sri Hari. So as a supplement to Mahabharat, he wrote Harivansh Puran. And in Harivansh Puran, this verse after having written all the Vedas, Puranas, etc., this verse was created and written by him. So Ved Vyas ji goes on to write Vede, which means in the Vedas. So there are four Vedas: Rig Ved, Samaved, Atharva Ved, and Yajur Ved. And these Vedas, you see, is not just a mere text. They're not so small. These are extremely extended and very wide texts. The every Veda also further has four divisions, and within that, innumerable divisions. So every Veda also has certain Upavedas to itself. Years before, when Mughals came to India, if India was to be brought to knees, it is important that its culture and tradition has to be destroyed. So that Mughal army went on to burn all the texts of India. For 6 months, the fire continued to feed the Mughal army. Almost they had burnt to ashes 96% of the Vedic literature. Only 4% of the Vedic literature are left. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead perhaps was aware of all this, and hence he gave the essence of all the Vedas and Vedic literature. He gave us the essence of all the Vedas, which is Bhagavad Gita. So Sri Vedvyas ji says that amongst all the Vedas, so some people might develop the tendency to read the Vedas. So I would say, do not attempt that until and unless it is important. So these Vedas are written, you see, is not written in this worldly Sanskrit, but an elevated Sanskrit of the spiritual world. You see, when I present the verses, many a people do have different reactions. Some people actually feel offended and also upset as to what kind of tough Sanskrit am I presenting. So you see, it is tough to understand that Sanskrit, the language in which that Vedas have been written. So you see, in case if there is a query and inquiry and inquisition, inquisitive bent of mind, that what is written amongst all the Vedas, because Vedvyas ji has written almost everything, right? So the shloka goes like this: that amongst all the Vedas, then in or in entire Ramayana, and then amongst all the 80 Puranas, like Garun Puran is one of them, Padma Puran, Skanda Puran, Brahman Puran, Matsya Puran, Varaha Puran. Bhagavad also is a kind of Mahapuran amongst all the Vedas, and Ramayan, as there are 7 Kans. And also amongst 18 Puranas. And Bharati means, and also in Mahabharat, where there are 1 lakh verses. So Vedas, Ramayan, Puran, and Mahabharata. So 4, right? So they are considered to be highest and elevated of the texts. Just in case if you have a query that what is written amongst all these texts, so Vedvyas ji goes on to say that amongst all these texts, so Vyasji goes on to say that in Vedas, in Ramayana, in Puranas, and in Mahabharat, in their beginning, in their end, and in the middle, only one thing is mentioned. And what is it? And what is mentioned is that be it Vedas, Ramayan, Purans, or even Mahabharat. In all these Shastras, in the beginning and in the middle, there is just one thing, and that is Harinam. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So just in case if you have a query or a question or an eagerness that you want to go through the Vedas, Ramayan, Mahabharat and Puran, it's certainly a good thing, good sentiment. But the fact is, in case you're not able to shell out time for this, and just in case in the beginning, the end, and the middle, if the glory of Harinam is mentioned alone, and so just in case if we could understand Harinam, its Mahima, its glory, and that if we are able to imbibe it in our lives, then it would mean what? That you have gone on to understand all Vedas, Puranas, Ramayan, and Mahabharat. So you see, some people go on to claim that they have absorbed very nicely Vedas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Purans, etc. But if this person does not know the glory and significance of Harinam, then his knowledge absolutely zero, because the essence of all the Shastras is nothing but Harinam, Sankirtan. In our country, there are numerous pious holy rivers. So these rivers pass through different states and provinces, ultimately meet the oceans and the sea, isn't it? So you see, the flow of the river is so different. They meander through so many places, but ultimately, what is the destination? And that is meeting the ocean. Similarly, in the Vedas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Purans, there are many stories which take twists and turns and travel through innumerable events and incidences. So ultimately, it has to meet the ocean and the sea. So ultimately, what is the essence, crux of all the Shastras, Vedas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puran? And the answer is Harinam, Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So in this way, dear devotees, there is huge glory of Harinam. And A.C. Bhaktivedanta, Srila Prabhupada has gone on to popularize and chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and fortunately blessed us with this Mahamantra. It might appear simple and small, but remember, all that small, it appeared to be small, but may not be that small. With immediate effect, I am reminded of the context when Lord Shri Ram went to Janakpuri. The bow of Lord Shiva Pinar could not be moved by any one of the powerful people who had assembled at the court of Janakji. Then Vishwamitra ji indicated Lord Ram to get up and break the Pinak bow of Lord Shiva. And Tulsidas ji writes something like this: just as the sun rises and the lotuses in the lakes and in the ponds blooms up, similarly, as Lord Ram walked and stood up to his seat, it appears that a small sun had risen. So the moment he rose up to his seat, lotus, lotus-like rishis, sadhus, and saints, their faces bloomed just like lotuses. And at this instance, mother of Sita Maya goes on to tell to Janakpuri, "O my king, when such powerful kings have not been able to lift and move." So the name of Janakji's wife is Sunena. So she says, if these powerful kings have not been able to do this, then how come such a tender boy Ram could do it? So just next to Sunena ji, there was a friend of hers who was sitting, who said, "Oh, my queen, do not you worry. Everything that appears small is not actually small. Similarly, you see this Harinam might appear to be simple and precise. So people advocate that huge yagnas, meditation, strong meditation and penances must be practiced, and Harinam for them is quite small and substandard a thing. But the fact is, those who have that aura might appear small, but is really, really big. Just in case if you go out of home for a fight, you have a sword in your hands. God forbid if this happens, then as you walk, supposedly your upper garment gets stuck in a thorn and it's get torn away. So despite the fact we do have a sword in your hand, but the fact is to stitch your kurta, your garment, you do not need that big a sword, rather a small needle. So the fact is to stitch the clothes you need a small needle and not the sword. The age of Kali in which we all are thriving, we do not need a sword, rather a small needle, which is the Mahamantra. The day we start chanting the Mahamantra, our life would be full of bliss and mercy. The Mahamantra, which appears small and limited, is very powerful and strong. So you see, when we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, what is the process? Like, to begin with, so you see, when I shout at the top of my voice to the people to chant the Mahamantra, so some people have this feel that they, in order to please me or for Maharaj's sake, would start chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So you see, in the beginning, what happens? So you see, to begin with, when we chant, we try to focus upon the mantra per se. So when we say Hare, when we say Krishna, so the word Krishna, the term Krishna. So when we say Harinam, it is the meditation on the name. So as we chant the Maha Mantra, you see, mind, heart, and soul gets purified. So once the mind, heart, and soul gets purified, we meditate upon the form of the Lord, the Vigraha, the form of Radha Shamsun that appears before you. So first of all, you meditate upon Mahamantra, and then as you chant, the form of the Lord shall appear before you. And after having crossed the second stage, in the third stage, the Lord, which is in the still photographic form, shall now go on to become in moving form. And then you see the flute holding Krishna starts moving and making motions. So first is chanting upon and focusing upon the words of Mahamantra, and then the focus on Vigra, and then you would start witnessing pastimes before you in your lives. So what do the saints and sadhus do? They do not feel hungry or thirsty. In just one of the corners of a hut or a hamlet, because you see, in their mind and heart, what happens? The glory of the Lord continues to run on. So you see, there is a process, there is a system, that in order to reach that stage, you must focus on Hari Mantra per se. So just in case some people feel that directly they will reach a state, that's not gonna happen. So you see, After the form is complete, then what happens? The glory and the pastimes of the Lord gets presented. So you see, once we have accepted that glory and all, we would also become a part of that pastime. For example, we might get absorbed in, you see, Yashoda Maya or the friends of Krishna or the gopis, etc. If we talk about entertainment of the material world, what happens? You see, it's very, very mechanical. But in, you see, so we go on to become a part of eternal glory and pastime of the Lord. But the beginning to this eternal pastime passes through this Mahamantra.
महामंत्र से शुरू होता है।
So it all starts with
अभी हम लोग
Mahamantra.
पहले स्टेज में हैं, फर्स्ट स्टेज को भी ठीक से आप लोग तो पहुंचे हुए महात्मा हो, केवल दाढ़ी मूछ नहीं है, बाकी तो आप, लेकिन मेरे जैसे लोगों की बात करूं, अभी तो महामंत्र में हम लोग हैं, छब छबिया कर रहे हैं। अभी तो भगवान के नाम के ऊपर भी
So
कॉन्सेंट्रेट
you
नहीं।
see, we are just beginners. We are not yet been able to focus upon the name of the Lord. You see, tomorrow you must notice, you must close your eyes and tell me that for how long you're able to concentrate upon the name of the Lord without applying any force. So for almost 3 minutes, if your mind and heart gets affixed on the name of the Lord, then you will go on to focus upon the root. And then you see, after having crossed this, then you would be able to have the eternal, you know. So in this way, Harinam, so only through Harinam we can enter, you see, the glory of the Lord. So in Shrimad Bhagavatam it is said that if an individual chants the holy name, so there is no difference between Krishna and Krishna's name. There's no difference as such between Krishna and his name. And hence, whenever a devotee says Krishna, so you see, it cannot so happen that there will be no tears to Lord. So that devotee goes on to develop Ashtasadvik Vikar. And just in case if this happens, then you must understand that there is some limitation or fault in you. Now you would ask, what is the issue? So Shrimad Bhagavatam does mention something like this. Second canto, third chapter, and 24th shloka. The shloka goes like this.
न विक्रियेता यदा विकारो नेत्रिं जलं गात्ररूहेषु हर्ष। કેવું ક્યાં આપણે એમ બોલીએ ભગવાનનું નામ તો પાછું આ ગોવિંદ ટીવી આવી રીતે મોકલી દે वर्ल्ड होली नेम પછી ખેંચી લે। ये सब आधुनिक समाज है, सब कुछ यहाँ मिल जाता है। तो बहुत सुंदर यहाँ पर हरि नाम के विषय में कहते हैं।
So very beautiful, there is this mention of Harinam.
आप देखिए श्लोक में यत, यत माने जो व्यक्ति,
Yat means that person, such a person who absorbs. What does he absorb? The person who goes on to absorb and adopt Hari Nam, such a person the person who adopts Harinam
बोले न विकृते उसका हृदय पिघले बिना रह ही नहीं सकता.
his heart cannot remain but being melt. The one who chants the holy mantra, it is not possible that heart doesn't melt and that he develops that excitement and goosebumps. Heart goes on to tremble. So it's a stage of extreme pleasure and happiness. The person who chants the holy mantra, you see, Ashtasattvic Nisar do happen, and that it cannot so happen that tears do not roll down his eyes. So he develops goosebumps. He will for sure develop happiness and pleasure. Means this is the form and nature of Harinam. If you will have sugar, you'll feel sweet. If you would have lemon, you'll feel sour. So just in case, if you see, if you do eat sugar and sweet and you say that you feel no taste of sweetness, then it is not the problem of sweet, but rather perhaps you have developed jaundice. So you see, those who chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, they do have tears rolling down, they have goosebumps, etc. And if this does not happen, then it is not the problem of Harinam, rather there's a limitation upon us. So what is that limitation? In the first line it is mentioned that the limitation is our heart has been just like a stone. Those who are stone-hearted, those whose heart are made of stone and iron, he will never develop such a feel. And when does a person go stone-hearted? When does that happen? When we commit offenses. So you see, despite lacking in knowledge or any level, preaching about the devotees. So the offenses that we make against Vaishnavas, eventually and gradually our heart becomes as tough as a stone. And because of being so stone-hearted, the fruits of Harinam shall never occur and happen. I would say perhaps a person who engages in sinning or who is a sinner, I don't develop any hatred for them because they are ignorant. So as they get to know, they develop knowledge just like Jadeja, they will come back into a proper form. But those who are knowledgeable, those who understand Shastras and Vedas, but still if they commit you see offenses against sages, sadhus, and Vaishnavas, then their heart is stone-hearted. So there's no fault or limitation of Harinam per se. In real sense of the term, the fault lies within ourselves. That it is we who are entangled in different types of, you see, offenses. So today is the final day, and today also is the last day of Varnam Holy Festival. So the huge significance. We do have tender heart, tears do roll down. So as we chant the holy name, we must stay away from offenses. So there are three offenses: Nama Aparad, Vaishnava Aparad, Seva Aparad, and the fourth one is Dham Aparad. So we must avoid those offenses. So now let us move further. Let's come into Shrimad Bhagavatam. Today is a very auspicious day. You see, it is not just the Punyatithi of Nitin Jetwaji, but also the birthday of Nalini Mataji. And we've got to know that you're getting operated on knees, so we would pray for your happiness. And we would pray that you start running so much, so fast that you would run in Olympics for us. So we all pray for Nalini Mataji. See, sometimes when people see somebody, he only sees success of an individual, but behind that success of an individual, there is contribution and sacrifice of many a people. So those who view my life as successful, I want to make a confession. So there are many devotees who have put in labor and hard work day in and day out. Amongst those so good, wonderful devotees, consider my strength amongst those devotees. We have Anant Shakti Prabhu, who has his birthday today. I am not supposed to tell anything to him, just at my indication. You see, he understands what I want, and Maharaj has given him such a name. Anant Shakti means numerous power. Where the powers of normal people comes to an end, his power begins. He has been engaged in a very beautiful service. He has his birthday today. I also pray for him to the Lord that he may always remain happy in his life and prosperous.
आइए श्रीमद् भागवत की ओर हम आगे बढ़े। पद्म पुराण में श्री व्यास
move into Shrimad Bhagavatam. In Padma Puran, Shri Ved Vyas ji goes on to write that
वैकुंठे नास्त्ययम रसः, ये जो रस है, कौन सा रस? हम और आप ये जो भागवत कथा का रस पी रहे हैं ना, ये भागवत कथा का रस स्वर्गे न अति।
the mellow of Bhagavatam that we are experiencing and enjoying is not to be found in the heavens, right? Even it is not found in Kailash or Vaikunt. And hence, O fortunate people, O blessed people, O blessed devotees, the mellow that we are enjoying here is not to be found in heavens or in Kailash, and hence this is said in Junagadh. This is said in Gujarati.
लाल रे वैकुंठ नहीं रे आओ, भूतल भगति पदारथ मोटू, ए ब्रह्मलोक नाही रे, भूतल भगति पदारथ मोटू, पुण्य करी अमरापुरी पाम्यो, अंते 84 माही रे, नित्य सेवा नित्य कीर्तन, ये नित्य सेवा, ये नित्य कीर्तन, ये रोज हरि नाम, रोज कथा, ये
eternal service, eternal kirtan, you know, happiness and pleasure is only upon earth. It's neither in heaven nor Kailash. And hence, fortunate people, O blessed, merciful people, must you have it, must you drink it. Never should you leave
तो
it,
ये रस कहीं नहीं है।
because this mellow is nowhere to be found.
तो इस प्रकार से यह रस
And hence, in this manner, this
ये
mellow,
परिवार के सहयोग
because of the efforts of Jetva family, we all have been able
हनुमान
to
जी की उंगली
enjoy.
पकड़ी है,
We've caught hold of the fingers of Sri Hanumanji.
फिर मैं पकड़ा देता हूँ। अपने तो यार हनुमान जी की, जब हनुमान जी
When Lord Hanuman
खोजने निकले,
went in to search Sri Sita Maya,
तो संपाति ने कहा कि समुद्र पार करना
first
होगा,
Sampati said, you see, you need to cross the ocean and need to enter Sri Lanka.
तो फिर प्रश्न उठा कि भाई समुद्र पार करके जाएगा कौन?
So nobody
सबने
knew
अपनी असमर्थता बता
who
दी।
would cross the ocean. Everyone
मुझे जा
started
नहीं सकता,
expressing their limitation.
बूढ़ा हो गया हूँ।
So some said that we can go, but we can't come back.
हनुमान जी भी
And
निराश होकर बैठे थे।
some said that now I've grown old. Had I been young, I could have been able to do that.
ऋषि मुनियों का कि जब तक इनकी शक्ति याद न कराई जाए तब तक प्रभाव होगा नहीं।
Now, Lord Hanuman was sitting quiet. Why? Because
हनुमान जी
he
को
had
बड़े
this
शांत हैं,
curse
कहते
hurled
हैं
upon
कि हे
him
मारुति नंदन
that he cannot remember and recall his powers until invoked. Then
पवन पुत्र
Jamanji
क्या नहीं
comes
कर
to
सकता, बड़े बड़े
Hanumanji
पर्वत
and
को
said,
तोड़ सकता
"O
है,
Lord Hanuman, what are you thinking?
पवन
If
तनय
you
साधन
wish, what can't you
समाना बुद्धि
do?
ज्ञान
Whatever you
विवेक
desire can be established just by a
यात्रा
wish
करो
alone.
राम काज लगी तब अवतारा, राम के कार्य
And
के लिए तू
remember,
अवतार हुआ है।
you are an
एक बात
incarnation
सुन तब
only
प्रभु
to establish
पर्वत आकारा,
the cause
हनुमान जी
of the
महाराज
Lord.
पर्वत के
Lord
समान हो गए।
Hanuman went on to take the
नरसिंह नाम
form
करने लगे,
of a
सिंह की तरह
huge
गर्जना करने
stone,
लगे।
of
हनुमान
huge
जी के शरीर
mountain.
से करोड़ों
He
सूर्य के
started
प्रकाश
making
उन
sounds
निरंतर
like that of a lion.
आकाश को छूने वाला
Hundreds of
ज्ञान
suns
प्रचंड है।
started
और
emanating their
जामवंत जी
light
तुम्हारी
from
कोई
his
विग्रह
body.
नहीं है कि तुम इतने महान हो। हनुमान जी ने कहा ये तुम्हारी
And
आंखें बंद करो और मुझे ये बताओ
Shamaji
कि
still
करना
went
क्या
on
है।
to glorify Hanumanji. Hanumanji said that
लंका को
don't you
पार
talk
करके
about
आपको
all
मार
this.
दूं,
You tell me
आपको
what am I
आपकी
supposed to
हीन
do?
कर दूं, आप करना क्या है। जामवंत जी ने कहा था देखो कुछ नहीं करना
So
है,
Jamanji
केवल लंका
said
जाकर
that you
सीता
don't need to do
मैया को
anything
बचाना है, बस
much,
दैट्स ऑल।
but you just need to go to Sri
जामवंत जी की
Lanka,
आज्ञा कितनी थी, केवल
bring the
सीता
knowledge
को
of
देखकर
Sita
वापस
Maya
आ
and
जाना।
bring back and
लेकिन
bring
फिर भी
back the
हनुमान जी
news.
ने क्या किया।
So
हनुमान जी लंका में गए तो
you
पहले
see,
लंका को उठा लिया,
what did
लंकी
Hanumanji
बनाए
do
हुए तो
when he
सीता
went
के
to
बाद
Lanka?
पानी भी नहीं मांगा।
He
मरता आदमी
gave
पानी तो मांगता है ना,
the
पानी
vomiting of
मर गई।
blood to Lankini. She
तो
died.
लंकिनी को मारा,
He
रावण
killed
के राज्य
Lankini.
अक्षय कुमार को मारा, रावण की आधी
And
सेना
then
को
he
मार
killed
दिया और इतना ही
Akshay
नहीं,
Kumar,
पूरी
killed
लंका
half
हनुमान
the
जी ने
army of
उजाड़
Lord
कर
Hanuman.
वापस आए।
And then
उद्देश्य
putting
क्या था, आज्ञा क्या थी, कुछ करना नहीं है,
Lanka on
केवल
fire, he
धरती
came
लेकर
back.
आना है। फिर
But what was the
जामवंत जी ने
command?
दिया।
That you just need to
तब
go and
जाके
bring the news of
जामवंत जी
Sita
ने कहा
Maya.
होता कि हनुमान जी देखो अब तुम जा रहे हो, वहां की परिस्थिति हमको पता नहीं है, तुम समय देखकर निर्णय लेना, सिचुएशन देखकर तुम निर्णय करना कि तुमको जो अच्छा लगे करके आ जाना। यदि इतनी छूट दी होती ना इस आदमी को, सुंदर कांड में ही लंका रामायण का दी एंड हो जाता।
Now imagine if at all some more command and order would have been given to Hanumanji, then perhaps there would have been no Lanka Kand. You know, Lord Hanuman would have brought back entire Ramayana to an end.
राम जी की आज्ञा
Even
थी और प्रभु की
Lord
आज्ञा
Hanuman said to Sita Maya that Sita Maya, if you allow, I can take you to Lord Ram just in a flip of second, but I don't have this permission of Guru Maharaj. But don't you worry, we would come back soon and bring you back to Ayodhya. You see, very rarely do I say this, what I'm going to say now.
एक पॉइंट मुझे जरा क्लिक हो रहा है कि
The
जब
point that's
हनुमान
coming
जी
to me
समुद्र को
is
लांघने के लिए
when
कुछ
Lord
नहीं भी
Hanuman
तैयार
was
हुआ,
almost about to
उस
cross the
समुद्र
ocean,
पर एक बहुत बड़ा पर्वत था, हनुमान जी पर्वत की टोच पर चढ़
there was
गए
a huge
और एक दृष्टि से समुद्र को
hill
नाप लिया। अपने मन ही मन में अपने
near
पिता
that, and he
इष्टदेव
was
श्री राम से
able
नाम
to
स्मरण कर लिया,
measure
प्रणाम कर
the
लिया,
entire
बस हनुमान जी के उड़ने की तैयारी। लेकिन उसी समय हनुमान जी ने
the
अपने को
entire
समझा कि
ocean. And Hanumanji decided to cross the ocean. Now, Hanumanji said that by the time I would come back with the news of Sita Maya, you should not move from here. So this is written in one of the chopai, but because it is the last day, I need to speak many things. So Hanumanji said that until I bring to you the news of Sita Maya, don't you leave the place. That means how confident Lord Hanumanji had been. It means that Lord Hanuman was very confident that he would certainly be able to bring back the news of Sita Maya. So how do you think this much of confidence could come to Hanumanji? Let us try to understand in practical life. Imagine if Lord Hanuman is going to establish some work, and whether or not that work of Hanumanji will get successful or not. Suppose we are going to attempt, we are making an attempt to establish some work, then we don't have that much of confidence. How do we get to know that the work that we are going to be engaged in, that would be successful or not? Those monkeys said, how come so much of confidence, Lord Hanumanji, you have? Where does this confidence come from? How does that happen? How can you say that you will certainly be able to search Sita Maya and bring back her news? So you see, whatever work we are going to do, so whether or not it would be successful, we get to know about it in the very beginning. Hanumanji said, I can say this why? Because I feel very happy in my heart. So Ramayan ji has given us a principle. Hanumanji has presented us a very wonderful principle that just in case before the beginning of any work, if you have happiness about that assignment of work, for sure you will get successful in that pursuit. So you see, some people almost are about to get married and they feel whether or not that girl would be coming to me in marriage or not, whether the bride's family would not return the entire Bharat back. So you see, what the principle that we must understand is that if you heart and you're happy before the beginning of this katha, if you're happy, for sure you will get happiness. Now, this katha had begun, you see, 7 days before, but it appears that it has just begun 7 minutes before. I can recall the first day, you see, I was introducing everyone, isn't it?
यह कथा निर्विघ्न
But
संपन्न
you
होने जा
see, this katha is almost about to get completed without any obstruction, because in the very beginning, we had too much of happiness in the beginning. If you would begin any work with happiness in your mind and heart, for sure that work would be successful. And if you would be frowned while working and beginning, and if you offer your services being frowned, then you see nothing would happen positively.
तो आप जाओगे तो दूसरा तो आएगा बेचारा, मैं उनको तो देख पाऊंगा, वो मुझे देख पाएगा। खैर,
Anyhow, the point that I'm trying to get across is, you see, Hanumanji was very, very eager and excited. So we have caught hold of Hanumanji's hand's finger.
और आज कथा का सप्तम दिवस है, आज कथा समाप्त होगी।
So you see, the katha is about to get completed. So the heart is heavy as well. But conclusion does not mean that this is the end. Conclusion means conclusion of Bhagavatam. What does it mean? It does not mean a full stop.
ये समाप्त शब्द को समझ लीजिए. ये बात नो डाउट आज भागवत कथा समाप्त होने वाली है, लेकिन समाप्त का अर्थ क्या है?
So what is the meaning of this end or conclusion? The real word, the root word is apt. And if there is an upsarg before this apt, that is up, that means
संस्कृत व्याकरण में 32 उपसर्ग, जैसे होता है दोष, सो दोष के आगे लगता है प्रदोष. जैसे होता है निषद, तो उसके आगे उपसर्ग लगा उपनिषद, है ना. तो ऐसे 32 उपसर्ग है जो किसी शब्द को भारी बनाने के लिए उसके आगे लगाया जाता है.
32 upsarg which can bring sea change to any of the word when prefixed. So you see, we've understood the beginning of the katha, that in case you're happy with your mind and heart, for sure you'll be happy. And try to understand the meaning of conclusion. What is real conclusion? What is real conclusion means? The term is apt, and then there is an upsarg called sam before apt. Now, what is the meaning of apt in Sanskrit? Apt means in Sanskrit prapt, that is to get.
दोनों सहोदर लैंग्वेज है, हिंदी संस्कृत. आप्त, संस्कृत का शब्द है आप्त.
So the root word of Sanskrit is apt, and that apt in Hindi is called as prapt.
अब आप्त के आगे सम उपसर्ग लग गया तो प्राप्त अर्थ हुआ, लेकिन सम आप्त माने सम्यक रूपेण, माने completely प्राप्त.
So if there is some upsarg before apt, that it means 100% begotten. So what is the meaning of samapt? Completely begotten, completely taken, completely accepted, completely owned. This is called samapt. So you see, some people say that it is end, and now that they don't need to listen to any katha in life again. Now, if I was to tell you, if you have gone on to adopt any object completely, and how would that be possible? Only when you would like it. For example, you went to a restaurant and that you ordered macaroni, pasta, pizza, whatever you like the most, and you placed an order. Just in case, if you do not like the taste, what would happen? You would leave that aside, isn't it? Nobody shall force you to to eat it. If you do not like it, you will put it aside. But just in case, if you like some meal, then what happens? You do not just eat the meat, but you're almost about to eat the plate as well, isn't it? So, end or conclusion means fully adopted or accepted or imbibed and accepted. And full acceptance happens when an individual actually likes it. Please remember, you see, the example of restaurant is really good. If in case you ordered something, you said if you liked it, you fully accepted it, and also that you might reorder it. So there are equal likelihood of reordering as well. Similarly, the conclusion of Bhagvat Puram means what? That you have an intention or liking of listening to Bhagavad again. This is the real. This is the real acceptance and conclusion. So in case the members of Jetva family develop the feeling that I need to listen to Shrimad Bhagavatam Katha again, then this is the real conclusion. And you see, I have already got the message of Jetva family. All the members from Kenya, Australia, Amit Narayan Prabhu has conveyed me that Jetva family has made a request to extend this katha by 2 more days. We want to listen by 2 more days. So you see, my Jetva family, I want to tell you that we have had a history of extending the kathas, but unfortunately, but you see, we have some limitation that some more kathas are about to come. Tomorrow also have a program and day after as well. And then day to day that after we need to begin the katha on Zoom as well. So there was no scope per se, hence I extend my apology to Jetva family. But this desire of yours, this eagerness to extend the katha, my heart actually felt really, really glad that as this is the final day, you have a desire to extend it. It means that in real sense of the term, you have been able to accept this katha in the real sense, that you are developing this desire to listen to it again and again. So you see, Pitru Paksh is going on, and we have been elaborating upon the glory of a Pitru Mahima. You see, mother and father both are called as Pitru together, but somehow the direction of Katha, went on to incline more towards Matru Katha. So within the Pitru Katha, Matru Katha had more of its weight. So I would make a request to Govind TV that we had given this title of Pitru Mahima. So whenever the time permits, you must title it as Matru Mahima. So more than the Pita, we have heard the glory of Matru here. And again, one of the reference of Shrimad Bhagavatam, within Pitru Mahima, there is such a glory of Mata in the 8th canto of Shrimad Bhagavatam. So you all are aware that Lord Sri Vishnu, when took the incarnation of Ajit, got on to get the churning of cosmic ocean done by demons and demigods. And same Vishnu took the form of Mohini and from his own hands went on to offer nectar to the demigods. These demigods, when had nectar, went on to become all powerful, and after having become so powerful, these demigods went on to have a war and contest with the demons, and they went on to kill all the asuras or the demons. So you see, almost all the demons died, and that many of them went differently challenged. This was one of the biggest battle. And you see in Shrimad Bhagavatam, what is the name given to this battle? This is called as Devasur Sangram, the war between demons and demigods. So all the demons were destroyed by demigods. Indra went on to become the king of heaven, and everyone got placed on their positions in heaven. Now the demigods went on to go for rest, and the guru, the spiritual master of the demons, Shukracharya, had actually gone somewhere. So this exactly is the problem. Whenever a guru is not present, these demons get to have a defeat. So when Shukracharya ji returned, he realized that this is a very strong issue created by demons. Shukracharya ji has this power of bringing back to life all dead. So now Shukracharya ji, by his Sanjeevani Vidya, did not bring back to life the dead demons, but all those who had gone differently abled through Mrit Sanjeevani Vidya brought back to life the differently abled demons. The list has been mentioned in Shrimad Bhagavatam. And at that time, Bali Maharaj was the king of the demons. This Bali Maharaj was the grandson of Bali Maharaj. So Prahlad Maharaj, after marriage, was blessed with a son, and his son was named as Virochan, and the son of Virochan was Bali.
संजीवनी विद्या से बलि महाराज को ठीक कर दिया बाकी सब बड़े बड़े
So Shukracharya went on to bring back to life and in good health all the differently abled Shukracharya, differently abled demons who were handicapped. Shukracharya ji now called on for the Brahmins of Brigu Brahmins, and Bali Maharaj was told by Shukracharya to offer services to the Brahmins of Brigu clan. Now Brahmins gave a lot of blessings to Bali Maharaj, and now having taken the mercy and blessings of Brahmin, Bali Maharaj went on to increase his power and position. And from the same Brahmins, he got conducted a Vishwajit Yagna in order to win back the world. In that Vishwajit Yagna, having become happy and pleased with the Yagna, Agni Devta, Yagna Devta appeared, and they offered a chariot to Bali Maharaj, and also the weapons, etc. Prahlad Maharaj also appeared and gave and offered him the garland of victory. And Bali Maharaj got ready as a great king. The principle that you must understand, that despite being demons, he offered services to Brahmins, but demigods, despite being demigods, again went on to go for mode of enjoyment, etc. While on the other hand, Bali Maharaj went on to offer services to Brahmins, and that way Bali Maharaj's strength went on to enhance. And hence, on the other hand, the weight of power decreased for demigods. So if you go on to meditate and penance, what happens? Your power shall increase and ascend higher and higher. And then Shukracharya ji ordered Bali Maharaj to go for a war with demigods. Bali Maharaj was able to defeat the demigods, and the demigods had to leave heaven, and Bali Maharaj went on to become the king of heaven. And one day, this Indra, who was the king of Indra, entire Amravati was named on his name. He had to leave his abode. Unfortunately, Indra could not even come out openly. So he was wandering from place to place. When Indra, you see, got to see such challenging days. So in Pitru Paksha, I want to share with you Matra Mahima. So you see, Indra did have his set of problems in his life, but then you see who was most disheartened and in pain because of his problems. So be it wife or children or extended family along with him, but the pain that a mother undergoes is beyond any comparison to anyone else. So the pain undergone and understood by the mother of a child who is under pain, this pain can never be compared to pain experienced by anyone.
कथा भी ऐसी है कि इंद्र की माता का नाम था अदिति.
The name of the name of mother of Indra was Aditi, and she was under immense pain that her son had to vacate heaven, and he is running from pillar to post now. Once Kashyap Rishi, her husband, came back to the ashram, and Aditi took a promise from her husband that he would bring the desired truth that she has. Kashyap Rishi agreed. So she said, my son had to abandon heaven, and you do something that Indra get back his heaven and Bali gets defeated. Now Kashyap Rishi also had another wife called as Diti, and whose son was Bali. Now Kashyap ji was like, two eyes in the form of Diti and Aditi. Then Kashyap ji said to Aditi that such desire of yours can only be brought to life by the Lord. You go for 13-day fasting, that is Payavrat, and pray to the Lord. Devi Aditi gave up upon her food and meals for the pleasure of her son, for if he could win back his heaven. So you see, you know the story. Vaman Dev appeared, incarnation of Vaman happened, and you see he went to Bali Maharaj, and from him he won back, Vaman Avatar won back heaven and gave it to Indra. So who made it all to be happening in real sense of the term? It was mother of Indra Dev. So you see, only mother alone can do this. So in this Pitru Paksh, you see, if you see our ancestors have left the body, you see, so I would say you serve them as long as they're alive as well. And not that you should wait for them to become departed soul.
जिस तिथि में उनका निधन हुआ उस तिथि में हमें श्राद्ध करना चाहिए. श्राद्ध कैसे करना
We
चाहिए?
must offer tarpan and shraddh on the day as they left the body.
हाँ, एकादशी के दिन यदि निधन हुआ है तो एकादशी के दिन श्राद्ध करने की जरूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि फिर उनका लेखा
In case they have left the body on Ekadashi day, then there is no need to do tarpan or shraddh because Lord takes care of. And if they leave the body in Pitru Paksh, then certainly you don't need to do anything. So on the day of they left the body, we must offer chapati, puri, or kheer, or whatever you see the ancestor liked very well. We must offer it to the Lord, and we must give it to crow. This is written in the Shastras, Garud Puran, Ramayan, or Bhagavatam. You see, the generation of this times doesn't accept this. So you see, I want to make this clear that why crow? So there are instances given at two places. One, Shrimad Bhagavatam and Valmiki Ramayan. In Shrimad Bhagavatam, I have talked about in the last year's Katha in details, but briefly I'll talk about it. Mandavya Rishi or Mandukya Rishi, another name for him, he was a great practitioner of meditation. So four thieves attacked his ashram, attacked the king and took and committed theft. So the thieves were running after having committed a theft at the king's palace, and the army of thieves were running behind them. Now you see what happens, that the army caught not just the thief but also the sage. But you see, for no fault of the sage, he was arrested. But perhaps you see that this sadhu must be behind this plan. So just as we lift Ganesh ji in Ganesh Utsav, similarly, in the state of meditation itself, even Mandakya Rishi was also lifted, and the king ordered that hang them to death. And the king is unaware anything about Mandakya Rishi. In those times, you see, the days of giving punishment were also very, very strong. So when somebody has to be put on shuli, it's a kind of triangle basically, just like a mountain. And the topmost part is very, very sharp. So shuli means the person who's to be given this punishment is made to sit. So that punishment means a person is made to sit. Gradually and eventually the person goes on to be pierced with that, and eventually the person's body gets divided into half. So it's like, he dies with a lot of pain. It's a very cruel pain and punishment. So the four thieves and the fifth rishi, Mandakya Rishi, those thieves died, but the saint, the sage who was in meditation, 5 days, 10 days, no harm came to him. He stayed alive. And the news reached the king that the four thieves died, but the saint is not getting died. He realized that I must have committed some fault and ordered, bring back the saint from Shuli. The king, the king apologized to saint, and now the saint said, "Oh king, I'll settle the accounts with you later, but let me first settle this course with Yamraj. The rishi went to Yamraj and said, "Oh Yamraj, those who do the bad deeds, they get punished. But I was made to stay on Shuli for 10 days. For what fault of mine? For what fault of mine did I get this punishment?" Yamraj said, "When you were 3.5 years old, then you picked up a thorn, and that you had pricked an insect with the thorn." Mandakya Rishi said, "A child of 3.5 years hardly knows that what should be done and what not. And in such a tender age of such an act, how come such a strong punishment? So I hurl curse at you that you do not deserve to be at such a position. You go and be a Shudra on the earth, in Mrityulok." So the curse was hurled at Yamraji, and the same Yamraj in the Dwapar Yuga came in the form of Vidurji. So who is Vidurji? Vidurji is none other than Yamraji. And from the fraction, from the element of Yamraji, Yudhishthirji was born. But totally Yamraji is Vidurji in the age of Dwapar. Now in Shrimad Bhagavatam, this question got raised that you see that the curse of Mandakya Rishi and Yamraji becoming Vidurji was nothing but a part of scheme of Yamraji. Because you see, this was the wish of Yamraji himself. Because if in case the curse start coming true on Yamraji, then for sure there would never be a time when he would not, when he would completely be full of curses. So long as Yamraji stayed on the earth as Yamraji, till that time who was there taking care of hell? So it is said that just besides the hell, there is Pitru Lok. So the Pitru, if they have engaged in bhakti and bhajan, would go to Vaikunt, or that they would take birth in the house of a devotee. Just in case if they have committed sins, they would first go to Pitru Lok.
आजकल बहुत वेटिंग हमारे जैसे अमेरिका में इमिग्रेशन में बड़ा वेटिंग चल रहा है ना हमारे केयूर भाई का बेचारे का H1 पर ही है 24 साल से अभी तक उनका क्लियर नहीं हुआ तो जैसे यहाँ अब ये छोटे देश में जब इतना वेटिंग है तो वहाँ तो बहुत बड़ा वेटिंग है तो पितृलोक में बड़ा वेटिंग है वेटिंग एरिया भी बहुत बड़ा है और फिर वहां से जैसे ही आगे नरक खाली होता है वैसे आदमी को आगे आगे भेजा जाता है
So from Pitrulok, as the vacancy gets created and hell, that they are sent to hell. So the demigod of Pitrulok is Ayarma. So as long as Yamraji stayed on the earth as Vidur, in that time period, both Pitrulok and Yamlok was taken care of by Ayarma. So there is a mention that goes here that who is the leader of Pitrulok? It is Ayarma. And the vehicle or carrier of Ayarma is crow. And Ayarma ji has given such a blessing that in case you offer a meal to the crow, then Ayarma would be happy. And that the meal of food that you order to crow, those crows would give that to your ancestors. The point that I want to get across, perhaps, so you might be listening for the first time. So what happens in Valmiki Ramayan, very fundamentally it has been mentioned that for the common understanding, so how come we feed the crows here and that meal is received by our Pitru in the Pitrulok? So in Ramayan, the story goes something like this, that so we will talk about is very brief because this is the 7th day and you would be listening. So you see, you reign this day. You are the king of this day. So you would speak and I shall listen. So there used to be a very powerful and renowned king, and that king's name was Marut. The king's name was Marut. He was very courageous, lot of valor, and hence he was world renowned. So Maharaj Marut was very, very popular. So where did he rule? He was basically the king of Ramti region. What was that province? Ushinar. You see, in our text, you see the names like Magad, whose king was Jarasangh. So Magad of those days today has transformed into Bihar. So in a text we talk about Anarth. In 10th canto we talk about Anarth. This province went on to become Saurashtra and Gujarat. Then Prayag. You see, Prayag is the Vedic name, but today they call it as Allahabad. Anyhow, so these are all the Vedic names. So in Valmiki Ramayana in Uttarakhand, the story goes like this, that Marut king was a world-renowned
और
king,
मरुत राजा के मन में इच्छा हुई कि शिव जी को
and he
दर्शन नहीं
developed
हुआ,
a desire that I
शिव जी को
must
प्रसन्न करने के
please
लिए
Lord
मैं
Shiva,
माहेश्वरी
and if
याग
I'm
किया।
able, if I want to do that, I must perform Maheshwari Yagna. So
अश्वमेध यज्ञ,
Vajpayee
सभी
Yagna,
कहते हैं ना।
Ashwamedh Yagna. So you see, those are the different
हम तो आधे
yagnas.
घंटे वाला यज्ञ जानते हैं, वास्तु यज्ञ, वो शादी में होता है वो वाला।
So the only yagna we are
उसमें
aware of is Vastu Yagna and the
बड़े बड़े यज्ञ
marriage
कराए
yagna.
जाते
But you see, those days we
हैं।
used to
लाखों की
have
बात थी,
very elaborate yagnas and rituals
राजा महाराजाओं ने
where
किया
lakhs and lakhs of elephants and
तो ये सब
horses would be
माहेश्वरी यज्ञ है।
given as donations. So this was
शिव जी को प्रसन्न
Maheshwari
करने के लिए किया
Yagna to
जाता है।
please Lord
और राजा
Shiva.
कोई कम लकड़े से थोड़ी जलने वाला आदमी था।
And you see, the king
महाराज मरुत
would not
इस
do
माहेश्वरी यज्ञ
easily with
करने के
a
लिए
smaller quantity of
यज्ञ
wood,
की जो
isn't it?
विधि कराता है ना ब्राह्मण
So
भूदेव
you
देव,
see,
वो स्वर्ग से
Brahmin
मंडराए
Bhudev,
जाते
who gets the yagna done, was summoned
ऐसा
from
गायन किया जाता है
heavens.
पुरानी कहा के भारत से आएंगे, हम भारत से ही मुंह भर जाता है, भारत से। इसने कहां से बुलाया? स्वर्ग से।
So he summoned him
चैतन्य
from
ने
where?
कि भाई यज्ञ करने
Swarg
के लिए
or
आओ। किसको?
heaven.
स्वर्ग में
And who was
33
summoned?
करोड़ देवी देवता,
So in Swarg or heaven, there are 33 crores demigods.
और
Their
बृहस्पति के
guru,
भाई है, नाम है
Brihaspati,
महर्षि
and the brother of
स्वामी।
Brihaspati is
इसलिए
Maharishi
संवत करके
Samvat.
लिखते हैं।
This all has been
जो
mentioned by
बृहस्पति को
Balmiki
महर्षि
ji.
संवत को
So Maharishi Samvat
माहेश्वरी यज्ञ
was
करने के लिए दक्षिण
invited
देश
to
का
come on the
मरुत
earth
राजा ने बुलाया।
to do this yagna.
और अब
And who was the king who invited?
वक्ता
Marut.
के नाम पर भीड़ जम जाती है। ओह,
So you see, sometimes on the name of the
स्वर्ग
speaker,
हेवन रिटर्न,
the
स्वर्ग
crowd
में
goes on to develop. So
यज्ञ
it
में
was like,
लाखों
heaven
देवता आए।
returned. So lakhs and crores of people came to the
एक
yagna.
समय
All the gods
सभी
and demigods
राजाओं को
appeared.
बुलाया, सभी
All
ऋषि
the
मुनियों
demigods
को
were
बुलाया,
called. All the sages and
सिंहासन पे
saints
बैठे
were
थे।
invited.
नारद
Everyone
महाराज
was
आए,
offered a
सारी
seat
दुनिया आई,
and asan.
सब
So
जुट
almost
गए।
everyone had appeared.
चर्चा भी बहुत होने लगी, होती है जब इतना बड़ा
And
यज्ञ
there were
होता है।
elaborate discussions and talks in that yagna.
ये जेठवा परिवार ने इतना बड़ा भागवत कथा यज्ञ किया, आधे ऑस्ट्रेलिया, मुझे 25 फोन आ गए कि ऑस्ट्रेलिया वाले की कथा है। मैं बोला मिक्सिंग है, आधा ऑस्ट्रेलिया आधा केनिया
So
है।
you see, this Jetwa family has combinedly organized from just
चर्चा
Australia
होती है ना
and
कि ये
Kenya.
आदमी अच्छा काम करेगा।
I get a lot of
ताकि वो
calls. So I
वो
say,
मान
some
प्रतिष्ठा
of
वाले
them in
उद्देश्य से इसलिए
Australia or
आए हैं
Kenya,
कि
etc.
आप अच्छा कार्य करोगे
So you see,
तो
if you
ईश्वर की
do
कृपा
good acts,
करते ही है, प्रतिष्ठा
then the Lord is
में
so
चर्चा होती है।
merciful that He would
तो क्या
bestow
हुआ,
you with
उस
discussions and
यज्ञ में
talks about you
बृहस्पति जी
happening everywhere.
बृहस्पति यज्ञ करा रहे हैं।
So Maharishi Samvat is getting the yagna done,
चंद्र वरुण
and
सब
Brihaspati
सब
Dev Ji is
चर्चा
sitting.
की हो रही है।
Everyone is present in the
उन
yagna.
दिनों की बात है
And this is the
जब
incident of those times when
तपस्या कर
Ravan
चुका था,
had
शिव जी
completed
के
his
भजन में लग
meditation.
चुका था,
He had gone on to
विश्व को अपने
make
कंट्रोल में
please Lord Shiva, and he was able to put the entire
रावण
world
के कान में गया।
under his control. Now this
रावण ने सोचा कि
news reached to
ओहो,
Ravan,
इतना बड़ा
and he
यज्ञ
felt
किया,
that
मेरे होते हुए कोई इतना बड़ा कार्य करे,
so
मेरे से आगे करे।
basically he could not tolerate that somebody is organizing such an elaborate ritual. So
रावण ने
I
अपनी
must
पूरी
create
सेना,
certain
सारे
obstructions in
राक्षसों को,
that.
सारे असुरों को एकत्रित किया
So you see,
और
Ravan
सबको सबको
summoned all
निशाना
the
के द्वारा
asuras
बुला
and
कर
rakshas,
उस पुष्कर
etc.
देश के आकाश में
And
आकाश में
then
आकर रावण
he
और उसकी
ordered
पूरी
them
सेना
to
पे
move
हमला
towards
करने।
Ushnagar.
जब रावण इस प्रकार
And
से
they started creating obstructions in the yagna.
राजा मरुद भी कम थोड़ी था,
So
जिसके
Raja Marut, if you see, was
होती वही
also
तो
nonetheless
राजा मरुद
only
खड़ा।
those with the power and strength
रावण
would be
इतना बड़ा
organizing
था,
this yagna.
रावण को
Raja
अपनी सेना
Marut, King
शक्ति
Marut
देखकर
got
मैं मार
up
दूंगा, अपना
and
थोड़ा
that
पावर
he took
दिखा
a
दूंगा।
vow that I will put
लेकिन
all the
लेकिन
armies and the king to
वाल्मीकि
death,
ऋषि
which
लिखते
is
हैं दो
Ravan.
तीन श्लोक में
But
कि
Valmiki Rishi goes on to
ये
write that
महर्षि संवत जो यज्ञ करा रहे थे,
Maharishi
ब्राह्मण
Samat,
भूदेव,
who was performing
उन्होंने
yagna,
महाराज मरुत
Brahman
को शांत
Bhudev,
किया कि
he
महाराज
pacified
आप
the
यज्ञ
king
करने
and
का
he said,
संकल्प कर
"O
लीजिए
Maharaj, you have already taken
और आप
resolution
तो आधा
of
यज्ञ
getting the
समाप्त
yagna
होने को
done."
आया है, जिसने यज्ञ करने का संकल्प लिया है
And almost the yagna is about to get complete.
उसका
Those who
पूर्ण
are
समर्पण
taken a
कीजिए।
resolution of
किसी
yagna,
किसी के साथ
he
ऐसा
should
है
not be dominated by anger, or he should
आपने
not
आचरण
engage
किया है
in
और अब आप
quarrel
यज्ञ
with
करोगे, हवन
anyone.
करोगे,
You have done so
तो
much of thing,
आपका
But if you would engage in anger and that you would engage in war with someone, then all the efforts shall go in vain. I don't have the time to share this sloka, but the principle that I want to share with you is that in any yagna, if anyone engages in becoming in anger, or that if they have a disturbed mind, or that he gets into a calculative mood, then you see you would not get the returns fully and completely. You see, each one of us engaged in yagna every day. It's not that you don't engage in yagna for that matter. Chanting of Harinam in itself is a yagna. So this Harinam, this Kirtan is nothing but Harinam. And when we listen to Bhagvatam or doing yagna, making your heart go restless, etc., then you would never be able to have the full fruits. Our sages and saints even went on to claim that when you are, doing chanting, come what may loss that happen, but you should not get away from chanting. Forget about ghee and everything. We just do the chanting and also go on to sleep and get distracted. So in this way, when Maru went on to do for Yagna, then Ravan, you see, he was also not very easily willing. So Ravan had a sword called as Chandrahas offered to him by Lord Shiva. And then in this manner, he started killing, by way of neck, everyone who had come. So strong terror was created by him. Now these demigods got fearful that they are now gone. We had come here to be a part of his yagna, but then you see, what are we doing here? So now these demigods, you see, are quite intelligent. What these demigods did was, then these devtas went on to go for a solution. Now these demigods who can take any form, isn't it? So some of the demigods went on to take the form of some animals. Now when Ravan is killing such people, you see, if a peacock passes by, he would not kill that. It would be against his honor and dignity. Now these demigods therefore took the form of birds and animals. So if I was to share the shloka with you here, so the shloka goes something like this on the screens before you.
कुकलाशो धनाध्यक्षो हंसश्च वरुणो भव हंसश्च वरुणो भव रावण की चंद्रहास खड़ग से बचने के लिए
the sword of Chandrahas of Raman, all the demigods went on to take the form of birds and animals and immediately took away. The point that I want to get across is that if there is any problem or any quarrel or something, must you go on to make yourself small or any younger. Even Hanumanji, when on he was back to Sri Lanka, when went to Lanka, you see that he also encountered Sursa, and then you see he took huge form and then very small form. He came back out of the mouth. All the demigods started running around here and there, being birds and animals. Now, who took what form is a very different and long list. I just want to talk about crow. So Devraj Indra went on to take the form of being a peacock. And Dharmaraj or Yamraj went on to become crow.
इंद्र मोर बन गए और धर्मराज यमराज कौवा बन गए और कुकलासो धनाध्यक्षो कुकलास धन के धनाढ़ देवता कुबेर। अब इसको तो रूप बनाना था, तो कुबेर ने देखा, अरे मोर वो बन गया, कौवा ये बन गया, मैं क्या
So
बनूं?
Dharmaraj became crow, Indra became peacock,
जो अपना रंग बदलता है,
and Kuber became chameleon.
और हंसश्च वरुणो भवत,
And Varun went on to become, Varun who personifies ocean, became Hansa.
कभी हम ये पाठ मानेंगे ना, मैं आपको पूरा
So
विस्तार
we will talk about it in details.
केवल सुन लीजिए।
So listen to me about this quote that Indra became peacock, Yamraj became crow, and Kuber went on to become a chameleon, and Varun went on to become Hansa. And now Ravan is attempting to attack in all directions. So in a way, Ravan went on to excuse all such animals and birds. So still being in attacking mode, Ravan went on to run his sword, and when he left that place, so the point that I want to get across is when Ravan had left from that place, everything became, settled down. These demigods thought that, perhaps they have been fortunate that their life got saved. So who had saved our life? These birds. So you see, the demigods felt that we must give some boon to these birds because it is because of these birds that we have stayed alive. So because Indra had taken the form of a peacock, so the mention is there in many Shastras. So Indra goes on to offer to this peacock that
कि जब मैं आकाश से बरसूंगा, इंद्र कौन है? बारिश करने वाले देवता है ना, इंद्र वर्षा पानी पुरवठा इंद्र के पास है, वही नल खोलते हैं, इंद्र ऐसे नल खोलते हैं। हमारे भारत में वो वॉचमैन जो होते हैं ना, ऐसे नल का ये खोलते हैं तो पानी आता है, फिर बंद करते हैं। तो इंद्र वो जो है ना नल वो खोलते हैं तब वर्षा होती है।
So Indra basically, what does he do? He goes on to turn the tap on. So Indra gave the peacock to the fact that first of all, you must get to know that what I'm gonna be doing. And hence you will find that, you see, there are no peacocks in countryside, but in countryside and villages, when the peacock sings and dance, that the rain is about to happen, because Indra had promised that. So Indra had said that the fact that I am arriving, the first news shall always be getting to be known to you. The second, they said that you will never be fearful of any snake. You will never be afraid of any snake. This was the second promise. And the third one was,
मैं तुम्हें वरदान देता हूं कि तुम्हारे प्रत्येक पीछे पर ऐसी आंखें होगी। हम देखते हैं ना मोर के सारे पीछे जो होते हैं ना उस पर एक आंख होती है। और देवराज,
so you see, Devraj Indra went on to give this boon that you will not just have eyes, but also in your feathers, in your eggs, and that because of your blue complexion, and hence I also gave you a boon that you will get a special color as well. So Sri Valmiki ji has written this, and he shares it with the Ramji, that, O Ram, that before this boon of Indra Dev ji, peacock used to be blue. But after the boon of Indra, what happened? They developed feathers and colors, etc. for peacock. So Indra took the form of a
अब इंद्र ने
peacock.
यमराज के सामने देखा, चलो मैंने अपना काम कर दिया, अब तुम करो अपना काम।
Now, looking at the fact that if Indra was to think that he has now established his task, what Dharmaraj are you going to do?
तब अब दो
So
श्लोक
Dharmaraj said that I have to be a crow.
ने कौवे को वरदान दिया, ध्यान से श्लोक आपके
Now you see, Dharmaraj goes on to give a boon to whom? To the crow.
धर्मराजो अब्रवीद राम प्रागवंशे वायसं प्रति पक्षिं त्वासि सुप्रीत पितस्य वचनं शृणु पितस्य वचनं शृणु।
So,
हे राम,
so he says, "O Ram."
कथा सुनाई जा रही है।
So you see, basically the katha is being told to Sri Ram. "O Lord Ram," at that point of time,
कि यमराज अब्रवीत बोले, क्या बोले?
Dharmaraj ji spoke.
किसको बोले? तो कहते हैं प्राक वंशे वायसम प्रति।
So what to speak and who to speak? Then the answer is, go on to give blessings and mercy to entire family of crow.
आशीर्वाद देते हुए क्या कहते हैं? पक्षिम त्वम अस्मि सुप्रीतः पीतस्य वचनम शृणु। हे कौवा, हे
So it is said, "O crow,
बहुत प्रसन्न हूँ,
I,"
क्योंकि कौवे का रूप लेकर आज मेरी जान बची है, इसलिए मैं तुम पर बहुत प्रसन्न हूँ, सुप्रीतः प्रसन्न हूँ, इसलिए पीतस्य वचनम शृणु, तुम मेरे वचन सुनो।
and you see, must you listen to me? So those shlokas are,
सुनिए, यमराज जी सारे कौवे को वरदान देते हैं, कहते हैं यथा अन्ये विविधे रोगे, हे कौवा महाराज।
so it is said, "Oh, the crows, the manner in which,"
मनुष्य को या पशु पक्षी को विविधे रोगे, अनेकों प्रकार के रोग होते हैं,
you see, people develop numerous kinds of diseases,
मया, और सारे प्राणी रोगों से पीड़ित होते हैं, मैं तुम्हें
and
वरदान ये
all
देता
the
हूं
organisms
कि
are
ते
full of
न ते
problems.
भविष्यन्ति।
So I offer you
तुम्हारे वंश में
this,
किसी को कभी कोई रोग नहीं होगा,
that in your clan you will never ever
जीवन में कभी
have
ऐसा करे कि हमारी
any
पीढ़ी को ऐसा
issues.
मिले। उस एक कौवे के कारण 21 पूरी कौवे की पीढ़ियां तर गई। क्या कहते हैं?
So you see, because of the resolution of that crow, all the clan got purified. Even to this day, even a pigeon falls sick. That is also the case for crows, also that bond, etc. Because Dharmaraj has given this boon.
सब लोग આમ નિમાણા થઈને બેસતા જ હશે ને ડોક્ટર પાસે જઈને, શું થયું? ખોખડિયું થયું, અમને શરદી થઈ છે, तो ये सब लोग अपने अपने डॉक्टर, लेकिन कौवा कभी हॉस्पिटल या डिस्पेंसरी में
So you see, the crow would never visit a hospital, etc.
ऐसा यमराज जी ने कहा।
Okay.
तेन प्रभुवंशति मई प्रीते न संशय। और सुनो,
And then it is said, "Oh Maharaj, listen to me.
पापी पेट का सवाल, कुछ खाने पीने की व्यवस्था करो।
Is there any arrangement to have meals, etc.?"
क्योंकि क्योंकि पैरोट को देखकर लोग सोचते हैं कि हमारे घर पर आए, मैना को देखकर सोचते हैं, लेकिन कौवा देखकर लोग भगाने का काम करते हैं। हमको तो जहां जाते हैं वहां लोग भगाते हैं, तो हमको तो खाने पीने की व्यवस्था नहीं है, क्योंकि तोते को खिलाने में आनंद है, तोते को हम लोग खिलाते हैं, मैना को खिलाते हैं, कौवे को कौन खिलाता है?
So you see, we do feed crows, tota, and mena, but then who offers to,
समझिए श्लोक,
you see,
ये च मद विषयस्थावे मानवा शुद्ध वार्दित। एक एक शब्द समझिए।
now listen to me with a lot of attention. Yecha means Dolog. Who is saying this? Yamraj, to crow and his entire family. So the shloka goes like this.
यमराज का स्थान क्या है? पितृलोक, नरक।
So what is the place or abode of Yamra? It's Pitru Lok or Narak. So he says, those people, those who live permanently in the Pitru Lok,
तो ये कौवों ने कहा,
the crows went on to address something like this. So just in case if he was to ask that who all stays at your place.
ये जितने भी मनुष्य हैं ना,
So whatever be the humans over here,
कौवे को कहा,
so you see,
हाँ मनुष्य पाप करेंगे, मेरे मानव याद रखे, पशु पक्षी की बात नहीं है.
so we're not talking about birds and animals. The rule of being good or righteousness and bad, this applies only to humans.
यदि पाप किया तो मेरे पास आते हैं. अच्छा, तो क्या होता है? बोले वो मेरे पास आते हैं और साथ
And as they approach him, what happens? So they stay hungry for a year. What is the last word of the first line? So it's like that they stay on fasting for a long time.
और मेरे वहां तो कोई ऐसा लारी नहीं, कोई रेस्टोरेंट नहीं, कुछ खाने की कोई व्यवस्था नहीं है मेरे पास. तो फिर प्रभु अब क्या करना क्या है? बोले वास्तव में ऐसा है. तो बीच में कहा वही शब्द जो है ना वो निश्चित. बोले निश्चित ही मनुष्य पाप करके
Then
मेरे
for sure,
और मेरे पितृलोक में शुद्ध वार्दित वो भूखा रहता है.
right on. Then you see,
लेकिन आज मैं वरदान दे रहा हूँ. कौन बोला?
I does give
कि त्वई भूखते, कौवे त्वई आपको भूखते जो भोजन कराएगा. कैसा भोजन कराएगा? सुतृप्तास्ते.
so such a meal who crow,
सुष्टु रूप से तृप्त करेगा. कौवों को जो अच्छे से भोजन कराएगा इस पितृ पक्ष में, इस श्राद्ध पक्ष
to
में,
those who's going to feed crows very nicely in the Shraddh Paksh.
भविष्यन्ति स बांधवा. यहाँ पर कोई तुमको
Okay.
भोजन कराएगा तो उनके बंधु बांधव पितृलोक में है, उनको मैं भोजन करा दूंगा. आंगड़िया सिस्टम जानते ना? आंगड़िया अब तो हमारा बचपन.
So I hope you're all aware of Angadiya system.
और उसमें हम लोग छोटे बड़े हुए.
You see, we had been engaged in the business of the father when we used to listen to this Angadiya system, that here, if we give 1 lakh rupees here, you see, at the other location, the credit is done. So as a child, we used to think that how come this money, this 1 lakh amount would be traveling? So only later we understood that the money does not circulate, but it's just that it is reflected in the account books. So it's not like that you feed the crow here, it will fly back to the Pitralok. This is a kind of Angadiya system. Lord Yamraj gave this assurance that as much as you will satisfy a crow, similarly reliever I shall place upon your ancestors in Pitrulok. So this was the boon given by Valmiki Ji in the Uttarkand. So dear devotees, in this Pitru Paksh, if we go on to offer meals to crow, then such meal certainly, by way of crow, the meal goes to our ancestors. And you see, if we do not offer, that, then these pits becomes very, very annoyed. So the ancestors, you see, if they go sad, then whatever good things the children might do, but they can never be happy. So we must offer Shraddh in the Pitru Paksh. So coming to the conclusion, you see, so if I had to ask you, if there are crows in America, if some crows came at my backyard and I asked my better half to offer certain meals to them. Sometimes in cities and all, you don't get to see the crow. then you see we develop excuse that how do we do Shraddha and all. Just remember one thing for sure. You must believe all these things for sure. And it's all about devotion. Along with belief and faith, if we do some tasks, then you see in the heart of crow, Paramatma sits. And even in our heart, Paramatma stays. So we must think and have the feel and mood that we are cooking the meal for our Pitru. We would first offer it to Lord and then we would offer to crow, and then that's how it goes to Pitru. So whether the crow comes or not, or whether it consumes the meal or not, and that whether or not it goes to Pitru or not, is completely something that you must take a resolution and not be particular about it, because the Lord has an abode in the heart of everyone and Lord is the beginning of everything. If you have offered the meal to the Lord, then for sure the crow gets it and also the Pitru. So we must do this by all the Pitru, for all the Pitru for sure. So wherever we don't have such facility, so we must do it at home with full commitment and devotion. And we must offer it to the Lord, or we must offer it to Sadhu Sant Vaishnavas or even the Gaumata. So there are many things that we can talk about. We can listen to many things.
परंतु हम लोग संसार में और समय की मर्यादा में बंधे हुए हैं,
because we are bound by time and situation. So this is the rule of the world, that we meet and then we get away. Many a people, many a new people, devotees got associated with us, listened to this katha and gave us motivation. So while during the katha, if there was any shortcoming or any fault or mistake at my end, because I continuously speak, now even I don't get to know, because of my speaking so much so frequently, I don't even get to know when did I say that. So if ever there are one or two kathas, it's easy to remember, but then we at in a present situation when the kathas are back to back, we do not get to know what I have uttered. So just in case if there was any issue, limitation, etc. in the katha, considering myself as your slave, son and brother, I extend my apologies to the mistakes. I accepted all my humility that 5 to 10% mistakes would be there. But then for one thing is absolutely pure, and that is the name of the Lord. So the time and place where the name of Lord Ram and Krishna comes, try to imbibe that in your heart. Our Jitva family, with wonderful desire and with a lot of excitement and energy, started and initiated this wonderful task. And within some time, you see, all the 7 days passed by. So I would request to each one of you imbibe the contents of this katha gradually and eventually. And read too much, do much, must associate with good people, chant the holy name, and must make your life meaningful and essential. Though katha does go on, but especially during this katha, being a speaker to this katha, I consider myself as very, very privileged and fortunate that you see in the loving memory of Purushottam Baba, seeking blessings of Purushottam Baba, we must bring a close to this katha. You see, in the Jetva family, this great saint, this personality who had the inclination towards the Lord from the very beginning. You see, wealth and all people might have to huge extent, but what makes difference is, you see, the service attitude, etc. It is very rarely being given to someone.
भजन भक्ति सेवा और साधना में लगा है। तो ऐसे देवी माँ,
So in this manner, Devi Ma and Purushottam Mata, Ratan Mata, Shagan Lal, Jayaben, Hanuben, Harilal, Madhusudan ji, So in the sweet memories of the departed souls, the fact that you organize this katha and also sitting at one place on the floor, you have been listening to this katha. This is greatness about you. This is nothing but the blessings of your family members. So whatever amount of thanks that I may extend is always lesser. But because I'm sitting on the Vyaspeeth, I congratulate each one of you very strongly and would always pray also to the Lord that He must offer you prosperity, and that you must get the blessings of the Lord. I extend my special thanks to Yogesh Bhai. It is because of his inspiration that the Chetfa family, and we met. And also, if you see, Yogesh Bhai is such a personality that he makes these good things happen. Even his heart is very, very pure, that he wants to go for organizing the katha. So Yogesh Bhai, I extend my gratitude to you that you have kept us all woven together. And I also extend my all thanks to entire devotees, the listener devotees, because if there are no listener devotees, the charm and the feel and mood of the katha would not be there. So all the devotees who are sitting over here,
ये तो कभी नीचे बैठेंगे नहीं, कम से कम मैं टीवी में तो नीचे बिठाऊं। तो ये जितने भी हमारे भक्त समाज हैं, आप सबको भूरी भूरी धन्यवाद। आप सबका भाव और उत्साह देखकर ही हमें कुछ पढ़ने का मन, में बड़ा आलसी हूँ, लेकिन आपका भाव इतना होता है।
So you see, by nature, I'm quite lax, but because of your inspiration, I get the energy to read and to meditate and to ponder. So I extend my gratitude again. So whenever you offer your prayers before the Lord, just remind me as well that there is a small slave of yours. Also give him certain blessings. With the desire of such blessings and mercy, I bring to a close to this katha from Kenya, Nairobi, and Australia. So with this, let us call for a close for this session. Hare Krishna, Radhe Shyam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru and Gauranga.
कथा की विधि के अनुसार हम कथा का समापन करें जय जयकार के साथ। आइए बड़े भाव से। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम महापुराण की, श्री कृष्ण चंद्र भगवान की, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की।